Are you ready for a future in which you own nothing and subscribe for everything, only to have these subscriptions be revoked from you without paying your weekly or monthly fees?
We all know that we're all paying too much in subscriptions. You know, we got Netflix, Spotify, HBO, Prime.
Yeah, don't even mention OnlyFans, because...
That's breaking the bank.
Yeah. Some of these subscriptions that are coming, you guys got to hear this. We're going to talk about stuff I didn't even know about. Cody here went deep, and there is some crazy stuff entering subscription services that you've got to hear about.
The future is you will own nothing and love it.
Yeah, so subscribe, like, listen to the whole thing, share this with your friends. Enjoy the episode. Do you care about owning things, material goods?
I care about
art.
the things that I like. Yeah, I care about owning stuff.
So you take pride in owning physical goods.
I would say that I'm not like a big brand guy, but I like this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like certain things in my life. I mean, getting into music and stuff, things have changed recently.
Yeah. So how does it make you feel that it seems to be that ownership is decreasing, generally speaking, and more subscription services and kind of pay as you go access? You're paying for access more than you're paying for ownership with so many things, and we're going to go into a lot of detail on that. Does that make you feel a certain way?
I thought that it was a good thing for many years, and
the subscription model.
The subscription model, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm kind of, after thinking about it a little bit more, delving into it a little bit more. I mean, it's not just the fact there's so many subscriptions that pisses me off. Mm-hmm. It's that, yeah, there's something else happening. There's a change happening, you know. And I think that, we got to look at it.
Yeah,
I got to look at it for me personally.
We're paying for stuff, but there's nothing really to show for it as soon as the money stops flowing.
Well, there's access.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and this is one of the things that pissed me off recently. Like, I just tried yesterday or the day before to listen to an audiobook that I've listened to before, I've paid for, and it's gone. Mm-hmm. And this is like happened this week as we're researching this, and I'd seen it happen with other titles before on Netflix and things like that. Friends just went off Netflix, and that was like, I knew about that because my girlfriend watches Friends. But this hitting was like the daily stock, and and it wasn't just gone. The license or something had expired. I had to pay for it again, and I did.
From the same provider? It was like Audible or whatever?
Audible, yeah, and I paid for it again. 1 credit.
Yeah,
right?
that seems like
$15.
An interesting. I don't think I've heard of that circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I took screen captures of it, but yeah, it just happened like the other day.
Yeah, you mentioned Friends. I mean, I remember back in the day where it would be like, you get the DVD box set.
Yeah.
You
I
rock
think
it.
we had the VHS box set of that.
Yeah. But no one owns DVDs anymore.
No.
I mean, people do, but it's like completely impractical.
There are some people bringing it back though.
You can't even.
I thought it wasn't just records. There's records happening, but people are bringing back all sorts of stuff.
You can't even put a DVD in your computer unless you buy an extension. I remember when that phased out, and I was like, what the hell?
See, when that happened, I was like, thank God we're fucking getting rid of these things. But now it's like, well, what do we own in the digital realm anyway? And I think that's something we have to explore.
Yeah.
Because it started from subscriptions, and it started from software.
The modern version of it. Because I think you could go back in time. I mean, I guess it is different.
Okay, yeah.
But like
magazine subscription.
Yes, but you still own it.
Newspaper.
You get the magazine sent to you, and you own the physical magazine. That's different than
my
software.
grandma used to collect the National Geographic.
It's a good one.
She had a big collection, and I used to love going around there and flicking through. And then I guess you get the newspaper and things like that. But where it started to happen in our digital world, it was with software.
Talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so Salesforce, I think, was one of the ones that started it first.
What year was this?
I have it.
It's like early 2000s?
2004. They IPO, and they go and they change to a subscription model. And at the time, I mean, it makes sense. It's like, okay, you're paying hundreds or thousands of dollars for software, and the software changes. So remember, like Office, for example. Well, the first Office 360 in 2010 was the first Office that you got as a subscription.
Yeah.
Before that, you had the CDs, you had to install it, but then the company has to keep all the updates happening, the support happening. So for 95, 96, 97, they've got different software updates happening. They're keeping multiple products alive. They've got multiple customer service problems. And then they can change to this fantastic new model where you rent it. And from our perspective as the user, it's fantastic as well because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And it's just this cheaper version that's better and updated. I always have the newest version.
Yeah, it's cheaper if you're staying updated. Because I remember back in the day, like music production software before this SaaS thing happened, I use a software called Ableton Live, popular software for music producers. I think it costs like $350. You buy it, you get the box with the installation discs, and every year and a half they release a new one, and it's around the same amount. Or you just don't upgrade and you just run the old version for years. So if you're upgrading, then yes, the price comparison is valid. And I do think software is the most justifiable. We're going to get into a lot of different variations of this subscription model, and software feels like the most justified.
Well, yeah, all I mean is it was sold to us as a good solution.
Yeah.
Right? And I've bought into that.
Yeah, and it's hard to argue with it.
And for work stuff, maybe some of it's justifiable, but when I went through and looked at subscription services that, for me personally, I've known for a while that, it's getting a bit much on the credit card. Like, it's just getting charged. I was like, do I really use all these? At one point, between my girlfriend and I think we had 4 different TV streaming services, right? We don't use them. AIS, they add another 150 baht for a play box that we never use for the internet. So it just kind of like adds up and adds up. Some of it for work, it's justifiable, but now it's starting to also seep into other things, and I think that's where it gets a bit crazy. You know?
Yeah, I mean, so Salesforce 2004, they were kind of the first big SaaS product.
Yep. And Office 360.
And these were kind of a smash success for these businesses, right?
Yeah. So revenue went through the roof. You know, they could cut. They could cut costs on support and keeping all these old products up to date. Yeah, because they just had like a unified product.
And this is like pre-iPod, I think. Maybe the iPod was like out a little bit around this time. iPod was when I was...
Before that.
Before
iPod
2004.
Before that, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's where I see this... Because when the iPod came out, you were still buying music from Apple Music. You know, you'd go pay $9.99 for an album.
On Apple Music,
It was iTunes. It was before Apple Music. This was like before music streaming was really...
But you could rip your own CDs.
Yes, yeah. So you could rip stuff and you could upload it.
2001 was the first
iPod.
Remember, they were like different colors?
Yeah. I remember those commercials.
1,000 songs in your pocket.
Yeah, great marketing. This really breathed new life into Apple.
Yeah.
But that's where this trend started from a music perspective.
Well, yeah, I guess it went from like company software and software for work, Office, you know, maybe that's students as well. It's funny how they've always got the student discount for Office, right?
Yeah,
And
I tried to use that long after.
But then it moved across into, you know, our entertainment as well. Netflix.
As soon as the entertainment became digitized primarily, you saw this trend with music and movies. I mean, Netflix is an interesting one, right? Like there was Blockbuster back in the day. If you didn't want to buy a movie, you go to Blockbuster, spend it's like $5 or $7 to rent a movie.
Yeah, $7 where I'm from.
Yep, and that's a little bit of a subscription model. It's a rental model, but
if you kept it for one day over, it was another $7.
Yeah, that's where they get you.
Yeah, man, overdue.
I would just go to the library.
Oh, yeah.
That was always the move. I mean, you wouldn't get the up-to-date stuff.
Yeah, okay.
It was like the poor man's version of Blockbuster, but you have your library card, check out 4 movies.
Yeah.
They're all shitty movies,
Sex
but
ed
at least
videos.
you're watching something. Yeah, sex ed videos. Those scarred me.
Creative Cloud was in 2013.
It's Adobe.
That's a big one. I mean, how many pirated versions of Adobe were out there before then?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the SaaS products I pay for now, $52 every month.
Yep.
Get it registered.
One user?
Two computers, but if they're both actively using it, there starts to become problems.
Yeah, okay.
And that, at this point, I feel like I don't love it.
What?
Honestly, like, I mean, I'd have to really boil the numbers, crunch the numbers on that.
Because I remember it was like $700. No, I did a little bit of calculating, and what I use now, it's still cheaper for a subscription.
Okay.
So it's not there yet, right? But this is more than just cost. This is like us, and maybe not you and me, but us collectively changing our the way we live to be more of a rental access to wanting to own it ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's not just, it's in younger generations that I think older people prefer to own their stuff. But it's definitely like something that's like a trend that's slowly moving that direction.
I think the big question is whether this is my conspiratorial brain, anyone who's watched a few of these knows I have a problem. Is this a psyop of like, okay, we just want people to get used to owning less, so let's just push these, because we're about to talk about some crazy shit that's in now a subscription service. Like before we even get there, there's weird, you've done a lot more research on this topic than I have, but some of the stuff you were talking about earlier that's become a subscription service is crazy to me.
2020 Deloitte study shows that U.S. households on average had 12 paid media and entertainment subscriptions, right? Eventbrite survey in 2020 found that 77% of millennials preferred spending on experiences over material items. Like, I think that it's a factor of what media we have access to now. It's easy. Humans are lazy. We want the simple stuff, right? And it's a factor of the costs of things, and maybe the positioning of like earning power and spending power.
Yeah.
And this is where this topic, it's like, okay, it's interesting, but it gets like, it could be dark if you believe, a certain aspect of it.
For music, I don't like it. And I just remember being a kid, like Friday would roll around, all the new music hits the record shop that day. It's like I'd save up my like lunch money savings and any little allowance or whatever I'd have, and it'd be like, yes, I get to go buy a new CD today.
Yeah.
And that was it was the experience. And like you go to the record shop, hopefully it's still in stock. You buy the CD, you go home, you listen to the whole thing multiple times, you put it in, you read the liner notes. It's like, it's an experience that goes way beyond streaming a fucking single on Spotify on a playlist that you don't even know what you're listening to. I just feel it's completely...
Yeah, but the same person now, it's like, it's Friday, all the things drop. Not just Friday, every day there's a new drop. I don't have to pay anything extra because I get access every day to new stuff. I can share it with my friends instantly. I can put it on a playlist.
But you own nothing, and as soon as you stop paying, you don't have it anymore. And it's like... It's just, I feel like it's part of this trend, like, that's watered down the value of music for general audiences that, like, I think we have a nice, like, yin and yang here because you're more of a general audience music lover, and I'm more of, like, the creator side of the music. So
I'll say that my research on this topic is changing my mind. I think I need to like sit with it for a bit more, but I've been rethinking some of the ways that I store some of the digital content that I have, maybe to keep it myself instead of like trusting other sources to store it. Instead of just continuing to increase my cloud storage, which has always just been the most convenient thing to do. Is maybe like I should go back to having some physical backups. But I went through this whole period of like wanting to rid myself of that. I just pick up my laptop and I leave and I pack my bag and I can be anywhere and live anywhere and I have access to everything. And I think this is like, it's romanticized. And I think it is...
The minimalism.
And it's another aspect that folds into this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, with music, just because it's a complex topic, it doesn't sound like it, but it is. But like, just with music, like your experience of going to the record store and buying that was an experience. You described it as an experience. But Gen Z, or not Gen Z, millennials, I don't know if they're Gen Z.
Gen Z, yeah.
But they're saying 70% would prefer to spend money on experiences over material items. You described an experience.
Yeah, and it adds to the value of the whole thing. It's like a mission. It's like, it just becomes like, it's not just so easy.
No. Like, I remember some of the CDs that I take pride in owning.
Yeah.
Right?
And you have the book of all the CDs.
Yeah, the book. You keep it all nice and thing. I remember my first Eminem CD that I bought.
Yeah.
And I was like, my parents were not into me listening to rap. Little did they know I had an ICP fetish. But they, I remember owning it and just being like, yeah, it had the little explicit music thing on it. It was sick. It was awesome.
There's something about the tangibility of it. But everyone prioritizes different things. So to your point, it's like, a lot of people clearly don't care about that, and they rather just have every single file immediately accessible through streaming. Because the reality is, if we go back a second ago, you were saying like maybe you should save some of these things to your own storage. Let's just say hypothetically you started ripping all of your favorite music off of Spotify and recording it and saving these MP4 files, which you can do. You're not going to go listen to the MP4 files unless something drastic happens where you can't access Spotify, which probably won't happen.
Well, I would delete Spotify, no?
Well, then what happens when the new music comes out?
Well, I don't listen to new music very often.
So theoretically, if you did,
yeah,
for you maybe it makes sense. Just download everything you like.
Maybe there's new mediums coming. I'm not sure. The music thing is one thing, and maybe it makes sense. Maybe not for everyone. Maybe some people prefer to own their music in a different way. Maybe it's a preference thing. But cost comes into it, flexibility and convenience comes into it. But maybe there is something to having it.
And also,
owning it.
From the artist perspective, if there's an independent artist and they sell their own, let's just say vinyl records or CDs, whatever, a physical medium of their music through their website, if you go and you spend $20, $30 purchasing that physical thing, they're making a lot more money from that than if you go and stream their album 100 times.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for that too. It's like, okay, supporting the artist. So like if you listen to music and you love certain artists and they sell merch or sell physical records on their website, go buy an album. Yeah. And if they're having a concert and they're selling this stuff there, that's the best place. If you see an artist doing a live performance, you could buy their vinyl record directly, as opposed to going to like Walmart or something and purchasing it there.
And I think, like we've said a few times already, like music is one thing.
Yeah, we can move past that.
Videos is one thing too. Movies, TV access, this is another thing. And when Netflix was first out, and within its first X amount of years when it dominated, right? And maybe it still dominates, but there's so many others. There's Hulu, there's stuff's right on
Disney.
YouTube now. There's Disney, there's Prime, like there's HBO Max, Apple TV. I mean, there's heaps of them. And if you want to watch Mad Men, right, it's on Netflix. But if you want to watch the new series of XYZ, it's not on that. It's on this other platform.
So you have to pay for multiple services.
So you have to pay for multiple services.
But ultimately, you could pay for 5 of these services, and that would be the equivalent of buying like 5 movies back in the day. But you're getting...
Yes.
So
is that better? It's better, right?
Yeah, in that way, it's better.
Yeah.
I think the weird difference, and I'm not, the weird difference between like music on Spotify or iTunes and all these movies is it's common for movies, they have a cycle, like Netflix licenses a movie for a year or something, like they go away all the time. Music, you don't see that happen. As soon as something's up on Spotify, the chances of it coming down are very slim unless the artist stops paying for distribution.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do that unless they stop being an artist or whatever.
I've seen albums change. Maybe like it's a re-recording or a change in masters or something, but I remember I couldn't find this Michael Franti, and I'd look for it, and I could listen to like some of the songs I liked via some live, right? But this one wasn't there, and then it was there. Yeah,
well that brings up an interesting point, and like I think Kanye kind of like is a pioneer in this in terms of like making that a part of the experience, the evolving album. He drops an album, he decides to change it a week later, so all of a sudden the mix is different, or maybe a song gets removed, and the album is an evolving thing on Spotify, and the listener has no control of that. Whereas if he were to put out a physical CD of this thing, once you buy it, you buy it. I have a friend who makes music, and they sampled some old record on this album, They put the album out 3 months later. They didn't clear the record that they sampled. So then they need to go and they needed to change the complete background music, this thing they sampled, to be able to do it legally. And there was, the community that loves that artist was like, oh, this is just not as good as the original, but we can't find the original anymore. So it's like,
something like that.
I think it's a give and take. It's like, it's cool that people like Kanye could make it part of the experience of like this evolving piece of art, but sometimes it's not up to the artist or the listener, and you can't find your Michael Franti, and you have no control over that because you don't actually own it. What's better or worse? I don't know.
And this, right now we're talking about convenience and cost mainly. And you're talking a bit about the artists getting paid. But what about the actual owning of it? Like, do you miss having, like, I used to have a big thing like this full of CDs, like burnt CDs.
Yeah.
But you would like flick through like this, grab a CD out and put it in, right? Are we just romanticizing something that's dead? It's dead. It's over. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it's, I think you see CDs not so much, but records, vinyl records, there's a resurgence in that. Is that resurgence because people crave this physical ownership more? Is it because they like the experience of having it, this tactile thing, you feel the texture, you pull out the liner notes, it's like this thing. I love records. I have a record collection sitting in storage in America that I'm just waiting to bring out here. And I still...
You don't love it that much if it's sitting in storage.
I need to sort. It's a problem. I have a whole bunch of music here just sitting in a storage container. But when I go to Bangkok, and I go to the record shop because I always like to just go to the record shop and see what's there. I don't even have a record player here, and I go and I buy records. I can't even listen to them yet.
So that's a collecting thing. That's like
it's a collect. But it's ownership. It's like the collecting is ownership. It's like you like that,
Is it not something that's just like trendy, and you do it because it's a bit trendy? You can Instagram it. You can, it's like having one of those mustaches with the twists.
I don't care about trendy. Like I also collect cassette tapes. Nobody gives a shit about cassette tapes. That's not trendy. No. It makes me a hipster and it's cool. But man, I can buy cassette tapes on the streets of Bangkok of Thai music that you will not find on Spotify. You will not find it on YouTube. Yeah. That is fucking cool. And it's art. Yeah. It's like physical art. It's history. It's like I can go find a record from 1970 that was printed in Japan from an artist in America, and like that's just cool to me. Like you own a piece of art, a piece of history.
So there's more to the ownership thing than convenience and cost. For
sure, for me, with music. But we talk about these other stuff, which we should move.
What about like the Titanic on DVD?
I don't care so much about that. Okay. But if I loved that movie or some other movie and and I wanted to watch it all the time and I'm just relying on Netflix and then Netflix removes it, that's not great.
Like Battlestar Galactica box set.
Yeah.
You want to own that shit.
Yeah, if that's your kink or whatever, then, or Friends.
I get it. And I think I've forgotten it, and then doing this I was kind of thinking about it more again. Because recently I had to up my cloud storage again. It just gives me the shits that I have to pay more just to store things that normally I would just have on a hard disk and forget about. But I want to keep these photos and these video of a record of like my life, essentially. I might not look at them for 10 years, but I'm the guy who has those photos from back in 2010. You know what I mean? So but now it's just all going into the cloud.
So as soon as you stop paying, you lose access to it.
Well, I mean, soon as you stop paying on Google, right? They shut you out of all your Google Sheets. They stop letting you collect your emails and shit. Like it gets pretty intense.
I had that happen by mistake because like I forgot to change a card billing and like. It was my company account too, so I just go to log in. I can't access anything. It's like, oh shit, I'm trying to solve it. It's crazy.
I was just holding off. I was like, I'm just going to go delete a whole bunch of crap and not go to the next tier, right? And I just finally did it. And you know what? I will never go back and do that now. I've like upgraded. I'm never going to go back and clear out and get under the low watermark anymore.
Might as well just
I'm
buy
just
more
like,
storage.
Exactly.
But people who would maybe...
What about magazines, newspaper?
I used to collect bass player magazines.
But now, digital, you do or no?
No. I mean, I don't pay for any news.
That's why you're so informed.
Yeah. That's why I get all my news from the garbage humans. Yeah. But that, like, I've thought about, it's a little bit weird that, like, I don't know.
Every newspaper has a subscription? Or?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so this is getting into a whole new territory, but there's, the big...
Nico's going to hate this fucking episode.
The big media outlets and, like, just the general narrative is, like, people are getting fake news everywhere. There's a problem with fake news. But at the same time...
It's $15 a month.
Yes. To access the news that these people deem as real, you have to pay money for it.
Yeah.
If they really gave a shit about news, they would make it free and they would try to figure out how to monetize some other way.
I think the paid stuff's just a shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So, okay.
But also they have a point, because when I'm trying to, like, write a blog and I'm just I'm using ChatGPT to generate something, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to rip a bunch of stuff from this article and this article and aggregate everything, but then I go to a paid thing and I'm like, oh, this article would be so good to steal, but I can't steal it because I don't pay, so.
I think there's, like, some services now that you pay this and it gives you group access to that, so that's, like, one of these things that, like, someone, that maybe some good comes out of all this.
Yeah. You talked about, like, minimalism. I guess there's the digital nomad, the rise in, like, digital nomads. Obviously, a digital nomad's not going to carry around a case full of vinyl records with them everywhere they go.
Yeah, I think that, okay, I've gone through a phase of not doing it because I'm mainly on audiobooks now, even though audiobooks are not great for every book you want to read, really. But I collect books, right? So I've got boxes here of books, but they're not up on a shelf anymore. And
so you're not even pretending like you're an intellectual to your guests,
exactly.
your house
so
guests?
They're not even, they've got no use. They're very heavy to lift.
You can put your iPad on the thing.
But I was thinking I should get a Kindle and then everything's just in the Kindle, right? But this access thing now is fucking me up. And this experience this week with the practicing Stoic it's just kind of chalk on my cheese.
That's an inch, because in my mind, I'm like, who's reading, how often are people reading books?
And Twisties just change color. That's it.
That's honestly most realistic.
I have no idea where we're up to. But I think...
Let's just transition into semiconductors and Trump, like, out of nowhere. We're talking a bit about...
Okay, I want to just quickly go over some of the other services, some of the other subscriptions before we get into the crazy shit and the end of ownership, right? So streaming services, we know, news, media, digital content, health, fitness, wellness, there's apps for this stuff. Do you use anything like Apple Fitness or Headspace or
Headspace.
Calm?
I use Headspace.
Subscription? There you go. Food meal kits, so like HelloFresh, Blue Apron, there's people like getting food delivered. Now I know it's a little bit different because you eat it.
Yeah, you actually own that food.
So maybe that's a good one. E-com memberships. So people in the States, they have Amazon Prime. And people pay $15 a month to get shit delivered even faster.
Yep.
So that's another one.
You could also, through Amazon, you can like set a recurring, like a subscription for like toilet paper every month. Send me this.
Another thing that we're rid of over here.
What do you mean?
Toilet paper.
Oh, yeah.
The bum gun,
Americans
baby.
are nasty, dude. As soon as I learned about the bum gun, I'm like, what the fuck have I been doing my whole life?
I know, just kind of smudging it with
Yeah,
paper.
you're just rubbing in like this shit and never quite like feeling clean. So you got to take a shower after every shit.
Bumgun.com, baby.
What's that? That's
my website. Technology, okay, iCloud, Google Drive, Dropbox. I mean, you've got to have at least one of those, right? And then I've also got here pet subscriptions. So people are paying per month.
Rent your dog
shit.
for a month and then return it.
No, just like treats and toys. I mean, toys, I guess you own it. So
it's like subscription
boxes.
Yeah.
So average cost $300 to $400 a month. Like the average American on some subscription service.
I love the idea of subscription boxes because that's definitely making life easier. It's like there's like the food service ones. They give you the full. You pick kind of what you like, and then they give you the recipe, all the ingredients. They make it super easy.
Yeah.
You don't have to go anywhere.
That's good. That's a good subscription.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But top spending categories: entertainment and music, and health and wellness.
Do you have any data on that spending by chance, or no?
Just the average. I just took the average a month. Like the average American spends $300 to $400 a month on subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So.
Yep.
Where things get crazy is this new thing, called software tethering.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's where they take a physical product and they wrap in some software subscription, right? And I think one of the big ones, it didn't start with a subscription, but I think this kind of like opened the door to us like being okay, was like Nespresso and the pods. You know, you buy the machine, but you got to buy the Nespresso pods from Nespresso. Mm-hmm. And it's a bit different from software, but I feel like that opened the door to like, I have the machine, I have to buy the stuff for the machine.
Yeah.
Right? Makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But now we're getting into things like you buy a BMW, but it costs $18 a month to keep the seats warm.
Where's the justification for that?
That if you want warm seats, you got to pay.
Yeah, but you buy the car for God knows how much money. You own the car.
But not
and yet
the warmness.
But you can't activate the seat warmers unless you pay monthly for $18.
I don't know, it's nuts. Tesla, okay, $10 a month for sat nav and streaming features like with software upgrades. Mm-hmm. Seems better than warming seats, right? The warming seats one. And Mercedes, they've locked a faster acceleration, like quicker acceleration behind a $1,200 a year subscription model. So a little bit extra pickup.
This feels just totally exploitative. Like there's nothing, I don't see any value for the consumer in this.
What happens if I was Mercedes and I said, well, we actually subsidize the cost of the car, so it's cheaper if you don't want the faster acceleration, but if you want that extra oomph, then you got to pay.
I mean, I guess that's theoretical justification, but is that accurate? Like, is that what they're saying?
I just made it up, but you know, just trying to think how this works. Aura Ring, have you heard of this?
I feel like this is just leading to you buy a Mercedes and then you still pay every month to actually turn the Mercedes on. You know, it's like it's slowly creeping away.
Okay, HP Instant Ink. You buy the printer, right? And printer ink notoriously has been a bit of a scam, right? So you buy the printer, but you must buy the right ink cartridges, and it's always really expensive for ink, right?
Yeah.
But HP Instant Ink, you pay a monthly subscription for how many pages you print. So if you do 300 pages on average, that's $10 a month. If you do 500 on average, that's $15, and it keeps going up like that. But this is the wild thing. Say you run out of ink and they send you new cartridges, right? You get them out of the post office, you put them in your thing, and then that next month your credit card expires and you haven't put your new credit card in, you cannot print. Even the ink is sitting there in your fucking printer, you cannot print.
Does this mean that if you're not connected to the internet, the device is not connected to the internet? It doesn't work.
Wi-Fi's off.
Is there any data or information on like the projected cost savings for people with this that they put out there as part of the marketing? Like, hey, you know, you're wasting all this money buying this ink you don't need to use. If you
It's just like everything. Well, the marketing that I saw, I didn't look into it too much, but the marketing I saw was like everything else is a subscription from just $10 a month. You never have to worry about filling up your ink ever again. You don't have to worry about getting the wrong ink. Ink's taken care of, buddy. Just like everything else. Yeah, you own nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
So security cameras, right? Smart bassinet, right? You buy a device, you put your children in it, and it doesn't work if your credit card gets canceled, right?
It explodes.
No, it takes your child hostage.
Yeah.
Security cameras.
We own little Charlie now.
Can you imagine security cameras?
So it just stops recording. I'm just curious in like, why would someone choose that over just buying a security camera that you don't need to pay for every month?
Well, that one, it might be about putting the backups on the cloud.
Okay, cloud backup, sure. But at least you should be able to film everything all the time and just rewrite over old backups if you're not paying the subscription. I understand, okay, you want to save every single minute of video from your security camera, you got to pay for that storage. Sure. But
if your credit card fails, we're going to stop recording, you're going to get robbed?
yeah, we're going to send criminals to your house.
Yeah, we sell that data. Because you pay your credit card, you miss your payment. To recoup that cost, we send your data to criminals in your local area.
Yeah, to the black market.
Anyway, the printer thing really got me. That pissed me off.
I was so surprised to hear this from you when you talked about it. Like,
So what I want to know is what you think is there a trend moving towards pay for access rather than own and maintain? Do you believe it?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, do you think that it should be cheaper to rent everything than own everything, or is it more expensive for the flexibility?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I looked at it for me, some of the things just to do with streaming, and it was cheaper still to stream some of the stuff, but mainly because of like how much I would spend on buying music or buying movies, because I watch quite a bit of I watch quite a bit of TV. But I just wondered, like, what's driving this? Is it just convenience, or is there more? And is there something related to like the digital nomad, influencer, free, minimal living lifestyle? Is there something to that trend that's like pushing people in that direction as well?
I think accepting it, because it's like you're welcoming it. You don't want to own anything. These people don't want to own, not anything, but they don't want to own most of this stuff. So it's a value for them to be able to still access streaming. And I mean, I don't know, when we talk about these physical goods, that's a little bit different.
Is it got to do with an age? Is it an age thing, you think?
Could be. I mean, the data you shared earlier suggests that Zoomers are prioritizing paying more for experiences than material goods. So generationally, it seems to be trending in that direction. Now, whether that's like a long-term psyop because they know, like the powers that be know that there's just no sustainability to everyone aspiring to own everything they want to own. So in order to have general satisfaction across the people, you need to like make them feel satisfied with their situation at hand. So it's like, okay, let's just push in this direction where it's more sustainable.
They can't own a house, but they have Hulu and Netflix. Yeah?
Yeah.
And can print 300 pages a month.
How long until we all, like, I mean, once let's say the environment goes, right, and the air starts to become toxic, right?
Well, you'll be able to rent
you'll get a mask.
You'll get an air purifier. You'll be able to rent one.
Yeah, but as soon as you stop paying, then you die.
So anyway, I was looking at why. So why is cost, convenience. Says here the role of urbanization. So the fact that like more densely populated areas become more costly to live in. So, and when people want to live in these highly populated areas because it's more convenient, that everything's more expensive, so you have to rent some shit. And then it got me thinking about like renting versus owning like bigger stuff too. Like we talked about the cars, but like what about your house?
I mean, that's right, like with mortgages and everything, it's like technically you're paying things off. If you stop paying, you don't actually own it until you pay it all off.
Yeah.
So it's a similar principle, but for whatever reason, maybe it's just because it's been ingrained in me for my whole life of that's how the reality is. It's like that seems more fair. You're owning a piece of the earth. You got to pay that off over time. You don't have enough money to pay for it up front. Sure, but
that's like rent to own, essentially. Well, lease to own, no.
We talked about
that you own it via the bank.
Well, there's a name for it when the government can come in and just take your property. It's not public.
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain. So the government decides, hey, we're going to build a stadium, in this area, and all these homeowners just get the boot. That's a little fucked up too.
Kansas.
That happened in Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas or Kentucky. Yeah, there was like a NASCAR. And NASCAR in 165 people, 165 homes had to be relocated to put a NASCAR stadium in. Not stadium, raceway. Yeah. And is there like a more long-term shift in this kind of behavior?
Absolutely, there's a more long-term shift.
Yeah,
I don't see how we're going back. As the population grows.
Records? That's like a reversion?
Yeah,
like
and I think maybe like that will become one of the least important things. Like if we start to talk about like other access to things that are like keeping us alive and keeping us safe.
Yeah.
I mean,
I had for a while I was thinking that I didn't want to own a property because I thought that the money would be better else somewhere. But in recent years, I've thought more and more about having a stable place. This is my piece of dirt, you know. But that's an age thing. I think that like I grew into that.
Yeah, I've always wanted to own land.
Yeah.
I think it's just cool being like, we live on this planet. This little chunk of it is mine, baby.
Yeah.
You know, I can shoot anyone that trespasses.
In Kansas.
Yeah.
Would you buy in the US?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you plan to go back there one day?
I mean, you know, if
Mum will be happy.
If life permits, I'd like to own here in Thailand, own in the US, in probably like a place like Wyoming.
Well, why Wyoming?
Taxes are good. It's a crypto capital of America.
Yeah.
Interesting story behind that, by the way. Do you know why Wyoming became such a hub for crypto?
No.
I don't know the year, but years and years ago, the university in Wyoming needed money, and some Bitcoin millionaire sent them a bunch of Bitcoin.
Oh.
And price goes up, people are happy, the local people start to feel good about this new asset class, and all this new investment starts to come around that. So the university system getting funding through Bitcoin there just kind of led to this whole proliferation of crypto businesses there. And then plus the tax laws are really accommodating to that type of thing. So
cool.
And it's where Kanye West lives.
Oh.
And he's my favorite.
Really?
No. He's just on top of it. He knows what's up.
Yeah. So there's more people renting than before, and in a lot of countries, not just the US.
Yeah, I mean in the US too. There's BlackRock has a goal of owning like 60% plus of all single-family houses in the entire country.
Wow.
That's scary.
Yeah, they own a lot of trailer parks. And I've always thought that, well, not always, but for a long time, I've thought that people are going to downsize because of the cost of living. So they're going to not have, like in Australia, the average home's 3 or 4 bedroom, but a lot of the people don't use a lot of the bedrooms. It's kind of like, it's an oversized house. And I think that people will downsize. And especially as you get older, you kind of think, I don't need all this, you know, it's more to clean. So people will downsize. And I think with the metaverse, because I do think it'll be like a Ready Player One kind of situation. So I do think that there'll be like a lot of people in these smaller modular homes kind of strapped in.
Yeah. We're being pushed into this rental driven future. But then you see the biggest corporations, you see people like Bill Gates buying as much farmland as possible in the US. It's like, why does BlackRock want to own all this stuff? Why does Bill Gates want to own this stuff? But they're telling us, as just general human populace, that you don't want to own anything. Just rent it. It's easier. It's more convenient. Do
you feel like that's a narrative being pushed?
Yeah.
Because I think the subscriptions is like, oh, convenience. Oh, own nothing. Oh, minimalism. Have less. You know, why keep all the books? You know, just get a Kindle. But I never felt like it was like you should own like nothing, you know, but looking into it and I feel like there might be something underlying there.
It's like it's scraping away at it. It's like it starts with something that's actually is convenient and helpful and makes sense, and then they just keep slowly pulling things away from people. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong about that, and maybe it is just,
So
something normal.
I don't know if you want to get into the home ownership stuff or not, but a lot of people think that home ownership should be a human right, like land ownership should be a human right, but the UN gave up on that idea in 1960s, right? The Soviet Union saw it as an affront to communism, and decolonizing countries at that time saw it as a barrier for ousting their colonizers, right? So it's kind of like this whole idea of owning the real land, and you talked about eminent domain. It's like, do we actually own it anyway,
No, the military can come and, no matter, even without eminent domain, the government can come and get the fuck out of here. I mean, there's also some data, like in the US, only 48% of millennials own homes, but 68% of boomers at the same age own homes. So there, I mean, that trend
exactly.
is...
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So it's definitely trending that way. It's okay. And then I was looking at so how far will it get with like subscription-based stuff? And I looked at kind of where else it might go and what other kind of interesting things and what else is getting swapped to a subscription model. And like there's companies now doing like co-living. So it's like a subscription-based living situation, which is rent, right?
Yeah.
But just the way that they're
How do they differentiate rent versus co-living?
because it's like use of the different spaces, because rent, like you rent the house, that's your rent, right? But like some of these co-living spaces have like, oh, you want access to the gym, that's this. You want access to the thing.
It's like add-ons.
Add-ons, add-ons to the living situation, right? Renewable energy subscriptions. So you can like subscribe to have renewable energy for your place by instead of like opting to have renewable energy sources. It's another subscription model.
The add-on thing reminds me of like, this is not subscriptions, but it's like, it's just these little, they try to figure out ways to juice you for a little bit amount of money. Apple is kind of like the king of that. You got to pay for the charger separately for your phone.
Yeah.
It's
it
like...
comes with the phone, no?
Maybe the charger does.
Yeah, okay.
But all these accessories, like you need the dongle for all this stuff. It's like little bits of money, which for them stacks up like crazy when you have millions of people using your product.
Absolutely.
And it's not the same, but it reminds me of that a bit.
Yeah.
It's like just trying to squeeze you.
Like vehicle subscriptions now. So like we have like ride sharing, but then there's also subscriptions where you can get flexi access to a car or a motorbike.
I think that makes a bit of sense if you don't really, you just know you need it a couple times a month or something. It's like, why?
Power tools.
Okay.
So subscription access to power tools. You can go somewhere and pick up tools, drop them back off. Is that the same? It's like a rental thing, I guess. It's just a new word for the same thing, rental, and furniture. So
I saw fashion too. It's kind of...
fashion, Fashion makes sense if you change your fashion, like if you're a fashion...
I think the people that are doing that are the ones who are trying to be influencers on Instagram or whatever, and they don't have enough money to like go and buy all this Balenciaga and shit, but they want to go and like stunt for the people, so it's like they have a bunch of different outfits they rent. They rent their Lambo that you see in their video. Cars are a little bit different, but I think for the fashion, furniture, sure.
Furniture, if you're renting a house, you can rent furniture.
Yeah, it's weird to own a house and rent furniture.
Yeah, unless you like changing it a lot, I'm not sure. Yeah, but I think so. Yeah, one of the guys from My First Million, Sam, he was looking to rent his furniture because he just wanted to switch everything to rental, like try and rent everything as just a line listing. And I think some tech, it's kind of like a tech digital nomad, kind of like a new age kind of thing to be like, oh, I just rent everything. Makes it easier. Don't have to do maintenance. Don't have to worry about it. I just pay the money and it comes.
Yeah.
So
If money isn't too much a concern and you don't really prioritize ownership of things, then sure. Just rent your furniture, change it every quarter. You have a whole new vibe in your house.
yeah. That's all I got.
There's one thing that I cannot remember. Oh yeah. So the one thing that we do own inherently that has the most value for all of these corporations are data.
Yeah.
And we just give it away. And these social media platforms, that's where they make all of their money. And we just let them take it and it's ours. But that's like, I think that was...
I don't really get this part. I mean, I understand it, and it's definitely like something that's like, but it's something that's said, you should own your data, protect your data, right? But they don't make money unless you buy shit. And
they make money selling it, like
you're
all the targeting that they're doing, all this.
But what does it harm you? You just close it, exit.
It doesn't harm you, but they're making billions off of your data.
Okay,
and
so you should get a piece.
There should be a revenue share.
Okay,
Okay. And this gets into another thing which we should just talk about quickly, I guess. Like there is a solution with the data side, blockchain. You know, there are advertising tech companies, blockchain ads. There are people who are trying to allow for revenue share for users to opt in by sharing their data and what data they share and everything. You kind of have this granularity of being able to pick and choose and where you give access and where you don't. And that's super valuable use case for blockchain, I think. Whether it actually manifests and this is where we're heading and that we gain a little bit more control over our data through this technology is a larger question. I don't know if that will happen or when it will happen, but that's for me like an undeniable valuable thing that we just give away. And I don't think we like originally, I mean, you don't even really seem to like fully agree with that. So like, I think it's just one of those things where it just started happening and we didn't think about it. And now
no, it's not that I don't agree. I think there's like more benefit for me giving it away than so I get enough benefit from giving it away by access to free shit and services and things than what I would get if I got a little piece of something.
So you're happy, I'll use Instagram, even though I know you don't care so much about Instagram, but you're happy to give your data to Instagram.
What data, like?
What you enjoy, your preferences, your demographics, all these things about you, the content you consume. I mean,
because I get to post selfies.
Yeah, you get to have free access to their platform. So for you, that's a fair exchange.
It's a fair trade. Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're monetizing the platform, then it becomes a little bit more fair because you're getting free access to a platform which you can monetize, but most people are not monetizing Instagram for themselves. You know?
I mean, people get hours of free scrolling time out of it that okay, might be horrible for them, it might be a drain, it might not actually be a positive thing, but they're consuming it. What do they pay? You know, so I kind of get it a little bit.
Yeah, but these are the most powerful, wealthy companies in the world, and we're just giving them all of that for free access to their...
Well, then we can delete our Instagram.
Okay.
Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid...
Okay, if they're reading my emails, right, and selling my emails to, you know, my arch enemy, I care.
Because it's a private conversation.
Yeah, but if they're autonomizing the data to see how many times I say I'm sad and then try and sell me antidepressants, I don't care.
Okay.
1 hour.
1 hour.
I can't believe we spoke for 1 hour on this.
Yeah, it's an interesting...
Is it interesting? Okay.
Yeah, because it's a trend that's occurring kind of like...
As we
speak and kind of without most people considering it.
Well, I hope that our conversation maybe like made people think about it if there's anyone like watches all the way through, because a few things for me, like I'm I'm seriously consider buying more hard drive space and storing my stuff offline. Not just to save money, but just so that it's mine in case something happens and it fucks up, right? I have an old hard disk with some of my favorite old series on it, like Breaking Bad and stuff that I've had for so many years, but it's on this massive hard disk like this, which is like not even a terabyte. I'm thinking I should like continue that. I should put my favorite shit on a time capsule, you know, because what happens if it does get removed, like Friends got removed from Netflix? You know? And photos, I think I need to be a bit more protective of as well. So it got me thinking about those things.
There's also, with the photos in the like cloud storage, something we didn't really touch on is like the security vulnerabilities potentially of like, okay, if all of your important shit is living on a server somewhere and that server gets hacked, it's all exposed potentially. But if it's living on a hard drive in your closet, the chances of somebody coming and stealing it, if you're, you know,
might just get attacked by the rain, like it's like a different vector, but
that's another little layer here.
No, it's true, but it's made me think about ownership a little bit more.
Which I think that's I think what you were just saying is, as long as we can get people to start thinking about it.
Yeah, maybe some of it matters, maybe some of it doesn't.
And everyone's different, right? I care about music ownership more than you do. That's fair. You enjoy the ease of consumption. I like to collect the art and the history, and to each his own.
No, I think you've convinced me on that one too. I think like there's certain records or certain albums that I'd like to own in my personal, and I'd like to pay the artist for them.
Yeah.
Right? Like to make it mean more. It doesn't mean anything on my streaming service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as long as us as humans are critical going into these relationships, these business relationships with these different software companies, and we know what we're sacrificing potentially, or we know why it's valuable for us, just think critically, right? That's all people can do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just sit and wait until you own nothing, because that's what's coming.